My hands are on a jar lid this morning, and it will not turn. I've stood at this counter 40 years, and my grip just isn't there the way it used to be. 81 winters I've seen, and my wife is not here to see this one with me. That's a fact I carry, not one I explain. The years don't break you down. They just stop covering for you. There's 7 of them that stop covering for me, and I'll count them down. But the last one, the first thing I tell you, I still haven't made my peace with it, not all the way. So keep that in the back of your mind. What you were told about getting old, that it settles, that it starts making sense, that is not what's coming for you. 7 things prove that wrong. Let's start with the one most people notice last of all. Number 7 is your balance, and it goes so quiet, you'll blame the floor before you blame yourself. You stand up too fast off a porch step, and the whole yard tilts half a beat before it settles. You walk a fence line you've walked 1,000 times, and put your boot down wrong on ground that never gave you trouble before. There's a piece deep in your ear that's been telling your body which way is down since before you could talk. And somewhere past 60, it starts sending weaker signals, and your body has to guess more than it used to. Doctors who study this say close to 1/3 of people your age feel it. That unsteady half second, that reach for a door frame you didn't used to need. Nobody warns you about this one because it doesn't hurt. It just makes you careful, watching your feet on stairs you used to take 2 at a time without thinking. I worked fence lines most of my life and never once thought about where my feet were. Now I think about it every time. That's not weakness. That's the years pulling one more thing out of the automatic pile and handing it back to you to manage on purpose. Sit with that one. It's not the last thing that's going to ask more of you than it used to. 6th on the list is your strength, plain and simple. And it snuck up on me harder than the rest because I built my whole life on my hands and my back. Fence posts, concrete forms off the reservation for money, work I'd come home from too tired to eat some nights. I was proud of what my body could do and never once thought to thank it while it was doing it. Somewhere in your 60s, the muscle starts going quieter than you'd expect, not all at once, a little every year. And it isn't only about looking smaller in a shirt. It's the jar lid. It's the grocery bags you used to carry 2 at a time in each hand. Now you're making 2 trips. Researchers say by the time you're 70, you may have already lost something like 1/10 of what you had. More if you sat still through your 50s. Nobody tells you the number because the number isn't the point. The point is, the morning you go to open something and your hand just isn't the hand you remember. I built fence lines for 40 years with these hands. Now they shake a little, turning a key in a cold truck door. That's not you failing. That's the years asking you to notice what you used to spin without counting. Stay with me, because the next one took something quieter than my strength ever did, and I didn't see it coming at all. 5th is your hearing, and this is where the years really stop covering for you, because for a long while, they cover hard. You don't go deaf. You just start missing pieces. A word here, the end of a sentence there, and your brain is so good at filling gaps you don't notice how much you're guessing instead of hearing. It happens worst in a noisy room, a table full of grandkids all talking at once, exactly where you want to be, sharing the most. About a third of people between 65 and 74 carry some real hearing loss, and most wait years to admit it, because admitting it feels like admitting something bigger. I sat at my own table last winter and realized I'd been nodding along to a conversation I'd only caught half of, smiling in the spots where a smile seems safe. That's a lonely kind of trick to play on the people you love most. The years don't break you down. They just stop covering for you. And this is where I felt that plainest. Because for 60 years, my ears covered every gap without me lifting a finger. And now I have to lean in, ask twice, watch a mouth move to catch what the words alone won't give me. It costs you something in a room full of people, that leaning in. Sit with that one a while. The next thing that goes is quieter still, and it costs you something different. Now the fourth thing, and it's your sleep, or what's left of the kind that actually rests you. There's a deep stage of sleep your body drops into every night, the kind that used to knit you back together by morning, and it thins out well before you'd expect, a little more each year past 60. Researchers tracking older folks over time found that losing even a small piece of that deep sleep each year, something like 1 part in 100, tracked with a real rise in the odds of losing your mind later on. You wake at 3 in the morning for no reason you can name and lie there while your mind circles. I know a hard winter, I won't say which one, when the propane ran out and the money ran out the same week, and I laid under every blanket in that house, not sure I'd see the thaw. Even after the thaw came, my sleep never quite came back all the way with it. Some of that was the winter. Some of it, I understand now, was just the years doing what years do to that deep, restoring kind of rest. You don't get robbed of sleep all at once. You get robbed an hour at a time, over years, until mornings feel less like starting over and more like picking up where you left off, tired. That's the fourth thing. The next one takes something you can't always name when it's gone. Third up is your words, the ones that used to come without you reaching for them. You're mid-sentence, telling somebody about an old friend, and the name just isn't there. You know the face. You could draw it in the dirt with a stick, the gap in his teeth, the way he laughed before he'd even gotten to the funny part. But the name sits behind a door that won't open, and it's a strange kind of proud to swallow, forgetting a name that belonged to a man you'd have walked into a fire for. This happens near every day for people your age, where it happened once a week when you were young, and the folks who study it say something that surprised me when I first heard it. It isn't that your mind is going, it's that you've got more in there now, more names, more faces, more years of people to sort through before you land on the right one. A full cupboard takes longer to search than an empty one. I like that better than the other way of thinking about it, and I believe it's closer to true. I've buried more friends than I've got fingers on these two hands, and some mornings I go looking for one of their names, and it takes a minute I didn't used to need. That's not losing him. That's just how deep he's buried in there, next to all the others. Keep that one close, because the next thing that goes took someone from me before it ever took a word. Here's the second one, your circle. And it's the one nobody warns you about because nobody wants to say it plain. Your circle gets smaller, and part of that is a choice you're making without knowing you're making it. Somewhere past 60, most people let the loose acquaintances go, the ones who never meant that much anyway, and hold tighter to the few who do. Studies bear this out, that older folks keep their close people close and let the rest fall away, and that this makes for a calmer life, less noise, more of what matters. That part isn't loss. That part is wisdom, the kind you earn. But there's another kind of smaller circle, and that kind isn't a choice at all. I buried my brother. I've buried more friends than I've got fingers to count, and a few went before they had any right to. Every one of them was a piece of the world only they carried, a joke only they would have gotten. You don't replace that. You learn to sit in a room that used to be fuller than it is now. The way you get used to anything you can't change, slowly, and never all the way. My brother used to sit across from me at a table just like this one, and now that chair is just a chair. Some of your circle shrinks because you're wiser about who deserves your time. Some of it shrinks because the ground just takes people, and there isn't a lesson in that, only the missing. Hold both of those at once, because the last thing I'll tell you ties straight back to this one, closer than you think. This is the one I told you to keep in the back of your mind. It's time itself, the first thing, and it moves different now. I don't mean that as a saying. I used to lay awake as a young man, and a week felt like it had room in it. And now, a season goes by, and I couldn't tell you where it went, only that my brother was here for the last one and isn't for this one. People who study this say the mind takes in fewer new things as it ages, fewer new pictures to hang the days on, and with less to hang on to. The days slide by faster than they used to. They'll also tell you it's arithmetic, that a year means more to a child because it's a bigger piece of the whole life they've lived, and less to a man my age, with 81 of them stacked up behind this one. Both are true, and neither makes it easier to sit with. I never had a pension. I never had an advisor in a nice office telling me how much time or money I had left. The years were the only thing I ever really had saved up, and now I'm watching them go faster than I ever budgeted for, right when I'd finally learned what they were worth. That's the one I haven't made peace with, and I won't stand here and tell you I have, because I've told you enough true things tonight to not start lying now. The years don't break you down. They just stop covering for you. And this is the last thing they stop covering. The fact that there's less of it ahead than there is behind. Sit with that one longest of all. So that's the 7. Your balance, your strength, your hearing, your sleep, your words, your circle, and time itself. All of it quietly asking more of you than it used to. So slow you almost don't notice until you're standing at a counter fighting a jar lid, wondering when your hands got old. Nobody sat you down and taught you this. Not because it was hidden, but because most of the people who knew it are gone now, and the ones still here are too busy living it to stop and say it plain. The years weren't taking things from you. They were showing you, one quiet piece at a time, what was actually holding your life up all along. The years don't break you down. They just stop covering for you. And once you know that, you stop being surprised by it and start paying attention instead. So tell me, what's the one thing your own grandparents knew that the rest of us let slip? Next time, I'll tell you about the winter I almost didn't make it and what got me through. Until then, keep your fire fed and your people close.